Hey guys, with Father's Day coming up, there's not a better time to watch Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla II, which is actually about Godzilla having a child named Godzilla II, and in this movie called Baby, and then trying to capture it and take it back from the humans after they find the egg and then take it for experiments. In this one, it's actually after King Ghidorah, and in 1993, they have designed a new Mechagodzilla type that can actually battle Godzilla. It has a lot of the same effects and weapons that Godzilla has. It does shoot flame breath out of its mouth. It has the ability to shoot its fingers at Godzilla and then attach and send out a discharge that will electrify Godzilla. And it also has this thing called the plasma grenade right in its sort of belt buckle, almost like a Batman type belt buckle, that it can shoot out another plasma energy wave at Godzilla. So Mechagodzilla has been built to try to stop Godzilla after numerous attempts have failed, and in this film they actually get to use Mechagodzilla, which is based off of harvested parts that they found from King Ghidorah in the ocean, and then some other sort of armor that they've attempted to mold into a Godzilla look-alike. The funny thing about Mechagodzilla is they have even made it so that it sounds almost like Godzilla. So they've really put a lot of work into making this thing, and it takes a huge beating throughout the film, which kind of makes it even more funny when you think about it, that ironically Godzilla is still able to overpower this man-made creation. But they do have another thing called, it's a flying device that has two lasers attached to it. Sometimes they can use it to fly almost like a helicopter, using the two lasers to shoot out at Godzilla, but it can also sort of Power Rangers mold into Super Mechagodzilla, which it just basically sits on the back of Mechagodzilla, and then it can turn its lasers to fire off the shoulders of Mechagodzilla. So we have all of that, but we also have Rodan, who makes a comeback in this film, the Pteranodon, who battles Godzilla throughout the film and then actually sacrifices herself to save Godzilla. We'll get to all that in a second, but first we can talk about just basically the characters that are in this. We have Kazuma Aoki, who is part of the G-Force Committee, which is basically designed so that they can take on Godzilla. It's a whole government outfit, if you will, that just studies Godzilla and the giant monsters, and it's meant to just figure out ways to stop these giant monsters. And then there's also Azusa, who is a woman who also works for G-Force, but she becomes sort of enraptured with baby Godzilla, Godzillasaur, because Godzillasaur is an herbivore, and Godzillasaur is actually a good thing throughout this film because it can kind of call to Godzilla, it can send it away, and they actually use Godzillasaur quite a bit in the film to sort of create plot devices for it. Because Godzilla is looking to get back his baby, and he's a good father in that way. He comes to Japan to destroy everything, but in the process he's looking to get his Godzillasaur back. So that's basically the major plot of Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla II. It doesn't really have anything to do with the first Mechagodzilla film. It really is its own story, and it's nice to see that Rodan gets put into this one, because the series doesn't really spend that much time with Rodan at all. There is some very cool effects in this one. They really go overboard with how much laser beams are being shot out all over the place, and it's basically just a giant monster battle after we figure out that Babysaur is a baby and Godzilla's looking to come after it. The tech people at G-Force have found when they analyze Godzillasaur that Godzilla has a second brain in his hip which it basically is just for movement. So being such a gigantic creature, he needs that second brain to help him move. So they think that if they can take out that second brain, they will be able to at least immobilize Godzilla, where they can get him on the ground and just start pummeling him with rockets and anything else that they have available. That's what they do. They get it to the point where they do take out Godzilla's second brain, and he is falling to the ground. They're all shooting at him. Mechagodzilla, people inside Mechagodzilla are just celebrating immensely, and then fucking Rodan comes around. And Rodan messes everything up, because at first they think Rodan and Godzilla, they don't really get along. They're kind of mashing up with each other, kind of another giant monster battle, just like King Ghidorah, Mothra before him. But actually Rodan comes along, and she actually sets down on Godzilla, performs some sort of glitter defensive attack where she disintegrates into all this glitter and actually heals Godzilla. And Godzilla now is really pissed off. I mean, he gets back up, he fucking just starts getting serious on these guys. Red beams of laser light shoot from his mouth. They're normally blue, but now they're red, so you know, wow, shit is going down. And basically he just pummels Mechagodzilla. And they find out that Mechagodzilla isn't as unstoppable as you once thought. It's Super Godzilla that's the unstoppable one. And by the time the end rolls around, we're left with the sense that nothing can really stop Godzilla. The only thing that they can do is send out a telepathic woman named Miki, who can provide a sort of mental thought for Godzilla and Godzillasaur that they need to go back to the ocean for their own good. And thank God they listen. And Godzilla and Godzillasaur head back into the ocean, with Azusa kind of crying on the sidelines. I'm going to miss my baby. I'm going to miss my giant dinosaur baby that is probably going to grow into the same size as Godzilla. That looks like he came out of the 1990s TV show Dinosaurs. And yeah, so basically the way that it ends is kind of, I don't want to say stupid, but it kind of feels like they should have done that. They should have tried that before they tried everything else, like building Mechagodzilla and destroying a bunch of buildings and everything else, getting people killed, because it does feel like that's kind of a cop-out way to end it, that they've known that Miki is like a telepathic psychic. So the reason that they didn't try just talking to Godzilla first doesn't really make sense. So the ending is a bit messy, and despite what other critics have said about Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla II being one of the best of the films, I would disagree on that and say that it doesn't have the greatest plot, based on just how it comes together and how the conclusion actually forms. I don't think that the conclusion works as well as the film thinks it does, and that kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth as you end the movie. Other than that, though, there's some great effects, and I definitely like Mechagodzilla. I like the idea of Mechagodzilla, that they have tried to build this giant robot, almost like an anime type character that they think can destroy Godzilla. That's a pretty fun thing to have in a movie. It's not really about the giant monsters. It's about humanity versus Godzilla, and that adds another aspect to it, because failure is just not an option at this point. And then they've got to deal with Rodan on the side. So that makes it pretty fun. There's also quite a bit of kaiju carnage in here, which we'll take a look at right now. For Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla II, we have about 23 buildings destroyed, and that is a calculation I did based on how many explosions we see as well. It's not entirely accurate, but it's what I could calculate. We have 2 jets, 6 tanks, 1 helicopter, and unfortunately 1 Mechagodzilla does go down in the process. With that, we'll recap Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2. It's pretty fun, and it definitely has a lot of good fight sequences, especially because it combines Godzilla, Mechagodzilla, and Rodan into one movie, where at first it doesn't really seem like those are going to come together too much because Mechagodzilla isn't used until later in the film. And actually, Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2 is quite long at almost an hour and 50 minutes. Probably one of the longest that we've seen so far in the Godzilla series. But it is fun, it just is sloppy at the end. And I think that part of that was the reliance on the telepathic portion of Godzilla and Godzillasaur. I don't think that technically works out very well at the end because it just leaves us wondering why they didn't try that in the first place and why that wasn't an option until the end of the film when they just decide that there's nothing left to try, let's just give Miki a shot and hope that she can pull something out of her ass. But other than that, I think you'll have fun with Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2, and just remember that it does not have anything to do with the first Mechagodzilla film, so you're not going to miss anything if you haven't seen that one. Check it out. Definitely give it a shot for Father's Day, and show your dad what it's like to actually see Godzilla caring for his children and say, Dad, why didn't you do that for me? Why didn't you wreck thousands of buildings and destroy populations and fight giant monsters just to save me? I guess I'm just a reject. Alright, thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I will be back tomorrow with another Godzilla film. This time we're going to take on Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla, which is next up on the Toho discs. And don't forget to enter the Gamera Ultimate Collection Blu-ray giveaway, Volumes 1 and 2. All you got to do is enter the MailChimp newsletter email subscription. So just put your email in, and you will be entered to win that those two collections. So we'll see you later. Bye-bye.